I had noticed the way Sarah always twisted words to make it seem like I was the bad guy. It made my stomach hurt, but I never spoke up about it. I kept thinking about the time she told our friends that I didn't care about them, even though I had helped plan their surprise party. It felt unfair and wrong, but I stayed quiet. When she accused me of betrayal, something inside me snapped. I couldn't let her continue to manipulate everyone, especially since her family had no idea what was really going on. The rain slammed against the windows, loud and angry. I felt a storm brewing inside me too. Just hours ago, I was happy with Sarah. Now everything felt shattered. "How could you?" Sarah's voice rang out. "You've betrayed me!" Her eyes were fierce, full of rage. I wanted to explain, to tell her my side. But I felt trapped, like I was stuck in a net she'd woven. How could someone I cared about so much turn on me like this? The rain kept pounding, matching my heart's frantic beat. Each drop felt like a reminder of the secrets I'd just discovered. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't the bad guy here. Sarah had played me, and I was lost in her game. I stared out at the rain, searching for answers. I'd to face this head-on. I couldn't let her lies win. The storm outside blurred my view, but it also cleared my thoughts. I was ready to stand up for myself. "Sarah, listen," I shouted over the thunder. "You can't just accuse me without the truth." She blinked, her anger flickering for a moment. "Truth? You think you know the truth?" I took a deep breath, standing firm. "I know you've been hiding things. I won't let you drag me down anymore." The rain pounded against the roof like a drum, and I could feel Sarah's accusation hanging in the air, heavy and suffocating. "You betrayed me," she shouted, her eyes blazing. It felt like a punch to the gut. I stood there, my heart racing, trying to figure out how everything had gone so wrong. "Betrayal?" I shot back, my voice shaky. "You're the one who lied." Her words sliced through me, revealing her twisted plan. I'd trusted her, and now, facing this betrayal, I felt lost and alone. The atmosphere shifted. Sarah's family looked confused, glancing between us like a tennis match. They could sense the tension, the breakdown of trust. I knew I'd to speak up. "I'm done hiding the truth," I declared. "I won't let her turn this around on me." Fear knotted in my stomach. Would they believe me? Would they see Sarah for who she really was? I could already feel the emotional scars forming, but I couldn't let that stop me. I'd to protect myself, and maybe even help Sarah face her own darkness. Taking a deep breath, I prepared to talk to her family. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I'd to stand up for myself. The storm inside me raged on, but I was ready to fight back. "Listen up. This is what really happened," I said, stepping forward, determined to clear my name. The storm had passed, but the memories of our love hit me like a punch. Each moment felt like a treasure, but now it was tainted by betrayal. I could still picture her smile, the way her laughter filled the room and made everything seem perfect. We spent hours dreaming together, wrapped in each other's arms. Now, those laughs cut like knives. I remember our first date. She beamed when I complimented her. We felt like we could conquer the world. But as time went on, darkness crept in. The giggles turned into fights, and our dreams became nightmares. I thought I knew her, but I was blind to her tricks. Every smile she gave me now feels like a cruel joke. I replay those happy times in my head, searching for the love that slipped away. But all I find are echoes, fading with every day. Was it all just an act? What stings the most is that those happy memories are now bitter reminders of what I lost. I thought love would fix everything, but it only shattered me. I miss the days when her laughter filled my heart. Now, it's just an empty ache. With each thought, betrayal weighs heavier on me, and I wonder if I'll ever feel whole again. "Do you even care?" I asked her one night, anger bubbling inside me. "Of course I do," she shot back, her voice sharp like glass. But her eyes told a different story. They were cold, full of secrets. How can you really know someone when every word they say feels like a trick? I was lost in confusion, stuck in a web, of lies that Sarah spun around me. It felt like she was playing a game, and I was just a pawn, with her pulling all the strings. Just when I thought I'd her figured out, she'd changed the story. One minute, we were madly in love, and the next, she was accusing me of cheating. It made me wonder if I'd been blind to her true self. The emotional roller coaster was too much. I watched as she twisted the truth, turning herself into the victim. It made me furious and sad all at once. When I finally faced her family, it was a big moment. I didn't just reveal her lies. I broke the fake world she'd built. I spilled the secrets I'd learned, and I could see their faces go from trusting to shocked as they started to understand. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about everyone she'd fooled. But standing up to her came with a price. I'd to deal with the anger aimed at me for taking off her mask. I felt alone, betrayed not only by Sarah but also by those who wouldn't believe me. Still, I knew I'd to be strong. I was done being her puppet, even if it meant losing everything I once cherished. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" her brother shouted, his face twisted in disbelief. "I thought I could trust her," I yelled back, my heart racing. The moment I found out Sarah had been lying to me, it felt like a heavy weight crashed down on my chest. I couldn't breathe. Betrayal hit me like a punch in the gut. I thought we'd something real, something solid. I'd opened my heart to her, but she turned that trust into a weapon. Every happy memory we shared felt ruined, and a deep ache settled in my chest. Nights turned into a blur of worry. I kept thinking back to all our moments together, searching for clues I'd missed. How did I not see it? The realization sliced through me, sharp and painful. I felt lost, like a part of me had vanished. Anger bubbled inside, mixing with a sadness I couldn't shake off. "I can't believe you did this to me, Sarah," I shouted into the empty room, but there was no one to hear my pain. Sarah's family, the ones I thought would support me, now looked at me like I was the bad guy. Their anger was like a tidal wave, drowning me in guilt. I wanted to explain, to make them understand, but the scars from Sarah's deceit made it hard to trust anyone. "Why would you betray me like this?" I whispered to myself, feeling the weight of betrayal closing in. I'd shown her my heart, and she'd stomped on it. Sarah had played me like a puppet, and I needed to see the strings she used. Her guilt-tripping and twisting my words felt suffocating, like a storm cloud over us. "Why can't you just see it my way?" she'd say, her voice dripping with false concern. I felt trapped, like I'd to agree or else. To fight back, I started paying attention to my feelings. I'd to be smart about this. I learned to set boundaries. "No, Sarah, I won't let you twist my words anymore," I said one day, my voice firm. That was a turning point for me. I turned to journaling to spill my thoughts and talking to friends for support. "You've got to reclaim your power," my friend Jake told me. He was right. Every little step felt like I was getting back parts of myself, but it wasn't just about Sarah. I'd to take charge of my emotional health. "I won't let anyone treat me like that again," I promised myself. I stood on the edge of a cliff, my heart racing. Fear clawed at me, but I'd to be brave. I was ready to confront Sarah and her lies. She'd twisted everything to make me look like the bad guy, and I couldn't let that stand any longer. As I walked toward her family, each step felt heavy. What would they say? Would they believe me? I shook my head, trying to push those doubts away. I'd to trust that the truth would shine through, no matter how dark things felt. I took a deep breath. This was it. I couldn't let her lies spread any further. I remembered the times I stood up for myself. Those memories fueled my courage. It wasn't just about me. It was about stopping her from hurting others. "Sarah," I shouted as I reached her family. They turned, surprised. "You need to hear me. Out!" "What are you talking about?" Sarah's voice dripped with false innocence. "You know what you did." I stepped closer, my heart pounding. "You manipulated everything. You made it look like I was the villain." Her family exchanged glances, and I could see doubt flickering in their eyes. I pressed on, urgency in my voice. "I can't let you keep deceiving everyone. You hurt people with your lies." "Stop it!" Sarah yelled, but I didn't back down. "I won't be silent anymore," I declared, feeling the rush of adrenaline. "You don't get to control me." The tension thickened. In the air. I saw her mask of confidence crack for a moment, revealing fear. It was my chance. You think this is over? You're wrong. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. Your days of manipulation are done. My heart raced as I stepped into the Johnsons' home. The air felt heavy with tension. I faced Sarah's family, knowing I'd to speak up. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my shaking hands. Mrs. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, we need to talk about Sarah, I said, keeping my voice steady. I could see their surprise. They'd always thought of Sarah as perfect. But today, that needed to change. I quickly laid it all out. The lies she spun, the ways she twisted the truth, and how much it hurt me. Their faces went from confused to shocked. I could see doubt creeping in, and I pressed on. I needed them to see the real Sarah, the one hiding behind her sweet smile. As I talked, I noticed Sarah's anger simmering just below the surface. I could feel her panic. She was losing control. But I couldn't stop. I'd to make them understand how she'd manipulated not just me, but maybe even them. The scene felt wild, like a storm brewing. I stood my ground, ready to risk everything. I hoped that if I revealed her true nature, they'd finally see her for who she really was. She hurt me, I shouted, my voice echoing in the room. She made me believe in a lie. Mrs. Johnson's eyes widened, and Mr. Johnson shifted uncomfortably. I could tell they were starting to see the cracks in Sarah's perfect image. How could you say that about our daughter? Mrs. Johnson said, her voice shaking. Because it's true, I shot back. She's not the person you think she is. The air crackled with tension. I could feel Sarah's fury rising. She was losing her grip, and I was determined to show her family the truth. Listen to me, I begged. She is manipulating you too. You just don't see it. Sarah glared at me, her face twisted in rage. But I couldn't back down. I'd come too far. I needed them to understand. She's not just hurting me. She's hurting all of us, I cried. The Johnson family home looked cozy from the outside, but inside, it was like a war zone. As I walked through the front door of that yellow house, the warmth faded fast. The air was heavy with tension, and you could almost feel the secrets swirling around. I knew I'd to tell them the truth about Sarah. Every room felt like it was whispering lies that Sarah had created. I saw her parents, looking confused and hurt. I'd to be strong for them. They needed to know the real Sarah. Listen, I need to talk to you about your daughter, I said, my voice steady. Their eyes widened, moving from disbelief to shock. I laid it all out. How Sarah had been playing games, twisting the truth, and hiding her true self. Watching their faces crumble was hard. I wanted to protect them from the pain, but it had to be said. My heart pounded as I shared everything I'd seen. Suddenly the warm, cozy atmosphere turned cold. They struggled to accept the truth of Sarah's betrayal. I could see their world breaking apart, and it hurt. But I'd done what I came to do. I'd shown them the reality. As I turned to leave, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I'd ripped away their safety net, and it felt heavy on my heart. Would they ever trust again? I sat in the coffee shop, tapping, my fingers nervously on the table. I was waiting for Mia, and my heart felt like it was bouncing around inside my chest. I needed to know about Sarah, but what if the truth hurt too much? When Mia finally walked in, her serious look made my stomach drop. We squeezed into a quiet corner, and the air felt heavy with what was coming. Mia took a deep breath, her eyes locked on mine. Listen, I know this is tough, she said, her voice calm but urgent. You have to hear this. I could see she was scared too, but we both knew we couldn't back down now. She started talking about Sarah, telling me about the lies and the hurt that hid behind them. Each word hit me like a punch. I felt betrayal clawing at me, sharper than I expected. Mia's words were like a lifeline, pulling me out of a dark sea. She laid it all out. How Sarah had manipulated me. How greed had twisted everything. My heart raced with anger and sadness, but there was also a strange relief. At least now I knew. Why would she do this? I blurted out, my voice shaking. Mia frowned, her eyes glistening. Because she wanted something from you. She always did. I clenched my fists, feeling the heat of betrayal wash over me. This wasn't just about Sarah. It was about trust, about how easily it could be broken. We need to confront her, I said, determination flooding my veins. Mia nodded, a spark of courage in her eyes. Let's do it. No more hiding. I had to confront Sarah. My heart raced with shock and confusion. She accused me of betrayal. But I knew there was more to the story. It felt like a twisted game, and I was caught in the middle. How could she turn this around on me? I thought we were close, but now I felt like the bad guy. As I walked to her family's house, my stomach twisted. I replayed our memories, looking for signs I missed. Each one felt wrong, like a dark cloud over what we had. The yellow house loomed ahead, its cheerful color mocking me. I had to tell her family the truth about Sarah. But what if they didn't? Believe me. What if they stood by her? The fear gripped me tight. Think, I muttered under my breath. I had to find the right words to defend myself and expose her lies. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. "Who is it?" came a voice from inside. "It's me," I replied, my voice shaky. "I need to talk to you all about Sarah." The door opened, and her family's faces were a mix of curiosity and worry. This was it. I had to push through the confusion and reveal what she'd done. "She's been lying to you, you don't know the truth." Gasps filled the air. "What do you mean?" her mother asked, eyes wide. I stepped closer, my heart pounding. "She's been manipulating me, making me look like the villain. You have to listen." Their expressions shifted, doubt creeping in. "Are you sure?" her brother challenged, crossing his arms. "Yes, I loved her, but she twisted everything. I can show you proof." Suddenly, I felt a rush of hope mixed with fear. Would they believe me? Would they see the truth? I was ready to fight for my side of the story, no matter the cost. Before I could even understand what was happening, Sarah stormed through the door like a whirlwind. The room buzzed with tension as she entered. Her eyes were wide, filled with anger and fear, but I could see the soft side of her trying to break through. She seemed to know something was wrong and that her world was falling apart. "What's going on?" she shouted, her voice sharp like a knife. I could tell she wanted to take charge, but it only made her look shaky. She didn't realize her tricks had pushed everyone away. I stood there, heart pounding. This was it, her moment to fight for herself or let the truth come out. Her family looked between us, confused and hurt. It felt like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for what would happen next. "Sarah," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You've been lying to everyone." Her mouth opened to argue, but I kept going. This was a huge moment, and I needed her to see what she'd done. Her tough front was cracking, and I hoped her real feelings would finally show, even if our relationship was doomed. "What do you mean?" she shot back, her voice trembling just a bit. "I mean the truth is out. You can't hide it anymore." I pointed to her family, their faces a mix of anger and sadness. "You've hurt them, and they deserve to know." Sarah's face turned pale. She looked back at her family, then at me. I could see the fight in her fading. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "Maybe it's time to stop lying," I urged, sensing the shift. Everyone was waiting for her answer, her eyes filled with tears. And in that moment, the power shifted. Would she admit her mistakes, or would she keep running? The air was thick with tension. I could feel the moment pressing down hard on us. Sarah stood there, her face twisted in anger and desperation. We were locked in a power struggle, and I knew I had to be strong. She wanted to control the story, but I was determined to tell the truth. It was like a battle of good versus evil. I watched as she tried to twist her family's view of me. I had to stay tough. I couldn't let her lies win. I took a deep breath and said, "Sarah has been using you, and I won't stay quiet anymore." Her eyes grew wide with shock, but I didn't back down. Every word I spoke felt like a win. I was taking back my story, and the room was buzzing with the unspoken thoughts of everyone around us. I could see her family starting to see through her act. I'd never felt so strong yet so scared at the same time. In that moment, I realized how important it was to stand up against her tricks. I was no longer the weak one. I was fighting back. Sarah's anger grew, but I held my ground. This was a turning point, a fight for who I was and what I stood for. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but hope surged in me. I'd taken the first step to break free from her control. Then, out of nowhere, she lunged at me, her voice sharp as a knife. "You think you can just tell them the truth? You're nothing without me." I straightened up, my heart racing. "No, Sarah. You're the one who's been lying. I won't let you keep me in the dark anymore." As accusations flew around the room like arrows, I felt a fire ignite inside me. Sarah's nasty words were like poison, and I couldn't just stand by while she twisted everything. She wanted to make me look like the bad guy, but I was ready to fight back. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. If I lost my cool, it would only give her more power. I remembered the truth I'd uncovered. I wasn't the liar. She was. I pointed out her lies, each one a shield against her attacks. My heart raced, but I didn't back down. "Sarah, you're the one who betrayed us," I said, my voice strong. I could see her parents' eyes widen as they listened. I wanted them to see the real Sarah, the one hiding behind a fake smile. As I laid out her lies, I felt strong. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a fighter. In that moment, I knew how important it was to stand up for myself. Confronting her, family was like stepping on a landmine. I'd to give up my dreams of a future with Sarah, knowing I'd also break her family's trust in me. Things changed fast. I felt like I was in a storm, battling with myself. Was revealing the truth worth all? This pain? I wanted to be a hero, but her family saw me as the bad guy. "Why would you do this?" they shouted, anger flashing in their eyes. I took a deep breath. "I had to," I replied, my voice steady despite the fear in my heart. "She was lying to you, but that didn't matter to them. They turned their backs on me." The betrayal cut deep, leaving me feeling alone. I thought about the love I once felt for Sarah, torn between wanting to help her and the anger boiling inside me. Standing up for what's right didn't feel good at all. The fallout from spilling Sarah's secrets hit me like a hurricane. Anger and sadness roared around me. It felt like I was drowning in a sea of emotions. I'd to navigate through the wreckage of friendships I used to treasure, now twisted and strained. Sarah's family pointed fingers at me, calling me the bad guy. I was struggling to handle their harsh words and blame. Rebuilding trust. It felt like climbing a mountain with no top in sight. I'd revealed Sarah's truth, and now I was stuck in their storm of rage. I realized I'd to set boundaries. I couldn't let their fury sink my self-esteem. So, I reached out to my friends. They listened, they understood, and they reminded me I wasn't alone in this mess. Healing wasn't quick. I knew I'd to accept change. Each day was a hard fight. But I fought back. I nurtured my strength, focusing on my goals and searching for sparks of joy. I thought about who I was and who I wanted to become. Even with all the pain, I found power in my honesty. It was tough, but I pushed myself to keep moving. I was determined to rise above the hurt and take back my life. I learned that while I couldn't change how others felt, I could control my own reactions. I chose to heal. I chose to grow. I chose to move forward, even when the path was steep and hard. "Why did you do it?" Sarah's voice echoed in my head, filled with betrayal. "I thought I was helping you." I shouted into the emptiness, frustration, bubbling inside me. Why did it feel like I was the only one who could see through Sarah's lies? I stood there, my heart racing, shocked by her betrayal. Everyone else seemed to turn their backs on me, eyes filled with doubt. It felt like I'd become the scapegoat in her twisted game. Sarah's family shot me glances that pierced right through me, convinced by her story and blind to my truth. I felt alone, like I was struggling to breathe in thick fog that shut everyone out. I realized Sarah had spun her tale so well that even the truth got twisted. She'd played with their minds, making me the bad guy in her play. It was maddening to watch them rally around her, believing I'd betrayed their daughter. I wanted to shout, to show them the real Sarah, the one who'd deceived everyone. But every time I tried to speak, they pushed me further away, their anger, like a wall I couldn't break down. "She's lying! You have to believe me!" I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. But they shook their heads, not wanting to hear me. Each word felt like I was screaming into a dark pit, and no one was listening. As I picked up the pieces of my life, the weight of trust issues felt like a heavy fog around me. I walked through, each day unsure of who to trust, not even myself. Sarah's accusations hit me like a punch. I'd given everything to our relationship. Yet now I questioned every laugh, every secret we shared. "How could you?" she'd screamed, her words slicing through me. I thought we'd something real, but now I felt like a fool. The safety I once felt was gone, replaced by a gnawing fear. Could I ever believe someone again after Sarah twisted my love into something dark and ugly? Each time I thought of her, anger mixed with hurt. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Opening up to someone new? It felt like standing on shaky ground. What if they turned on me too? I started to analyze every single text, every chat. If a friend texted, I wondered, what do they really want? This endless cycle of doubt wore me out. I wanted to trust again, but fear gripped my heart like a vice. "Just take it slow," my friend Jake said one night. "Trust is built one step at a time." I nodded, but inside, it felt like climbing a mountain. I needed to find a way to feel safe again, but it seemed impossible. For now, I focused on healing. I talked with friends who cared, slowly realizing not everyone would stab me in the back. I'd to believe there were good people out there, even when the memories of Sarah still stung like fire. "Trust can be rebuilt," Jake said, his voice steady. "It just takes time." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to feel that warmth again, but it was hard. Every time I thought of love, my heart ached. Moving forward felt impossible. Bitterness crept into my mind like a shadow. I'd told Sarah's family about her lies, thinking it would set me free. Instead, a heavy weight settled in my chest. My days turned dark, filled with anger instead of laughter. I thought exposing her would bring me victory, but it only left me feeling more lost. Every time I thought about that confrontation, the sting of betrayal hit me hard. "You hurt me, Sarah!" I shouted in my head. I wanted to make her feel the same pain she caused. But deep inside, I knew revenge wouldn't fix anything. It would only make the wounds deeper. Her parents turned their backs on me, their trust shattered. I didn't just lose Sarah. I lost the chance to be seen as the one telling the truth. It felt like I was caught in a storm, with no way out. Bitterness was like poison, and I could feel it in my bones. My thoughts were tangled, and my feelings were twisted. I'd wanted to reveal her lies, but now I was stuck in a sticky web of anger. Each moment I held on to this rage, it consumed me more. I realized this bitterness was only making things worse. I couldn't let it control my life. I'd to break free from this cycle of hurt, even if it meant letting go of my craving for revenge. "Enough is enough!" I shouted one night, staring at my reflection. I needed to reclaim my own happiness. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to fight. I took a deep breath and made a plan. I wouldn't let her dark shadow follow me anymore. After losing Sarah, it felt like I was stuck in thick mud, unable to move. I wanted to hold on to her memory, but I knew that would only pull me down deeper. I'd to face my sadness and the sting of betrayal. Each day was heavy, filled with memories that wouldn't let me go. I knew I'd to start healing, but it wouldn't be simple. I took a deep breath and decided to start small. I focused on building my strength. "You're tougher than you think," I told myself. I grabbed a notebook and began to write. Each word felt like a small release of pain. It was hard, but I kept going. I reached out to friends, sharing my story. "You're not alone," they said, and I felt a tiny bit of weight lift off my chest. Next, I returned to things I loved: reading, hiking, cooking. It felt strange at first, like I was betraying her memory. But slowly, I found bits of joy creeping back in. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting, I reminded myself. It meant learning to live without the shadow of her memory weighing me down. Days passed, and I learned healing was a bumpy road. Some days were bright, others felt dark. "It's okay," I whispered to myself. "You've got this." I embraced the ups and downs. This journey was mine to walk, and each step, no matter how small, was a win. I was determined to rise from the ashes of betrayal and find my peace again. Then came a twist. I received a message from someone I didn't expect. "We need to talk," it said. My heart raced. What now? I'd to know. I picked up the phone, my hands shaking. "What is it?" I asked. "Sarah. She wasn't who you thought she was," they said. My heart dropped. Betrayal hit me like a wave. I needed to uncover the truth, no matter how painful. As I dug through the boxes of memories with Sarah, it felt like shadows were wrapping around me, refusing to let go. Each night, dreams haunted me, playing our moments on repeat. Laughter filled my mind, but so did her harsh words. I could feel a tight knot in my stomach every time I thought of her accusing me of betrayal. I hadn't betrayed her. I'd just found out the truth. Guilt weighed me down. Had I done the right thing by telling her? It felt like I'd ruined her life, maybe even her family's. I kept replaying our last fight. The air was thick with tension. Sarah was furious, but it was her tricky ways that really hurt. How had I missed the signs for so long? I flipped through old photos, each smile like a ghost haunting me. I wanted to forget, but the memories wouldn't let me. They reminded me of how I'd trusted her. I craved closure, but all I felt was pain. In my quiet moments, I realized these memories were stuck with me. The truth had set me free, but I still felt trapped in what happened. I'd to face these shadows to move on, but every step felt heavy with loss. "Why did you do it?" I whispered, to the empty room, hoping for answers. But the only reply was silence. I knew I'd to confront her, to tell her how I felt. But would she listen? Would she even care? Just when I thought I'd my life figured out, the call from Mia turned everything upside down. I was trying to move on, but when I heard her shaky voice, my stomach dropped. "I need to talk to you," she said. "It's about Sarah." My heart raced. What did she mean? As Mia spoke, I felt a storm brewing inside me. "She's been lying to all of us," Mia said, her voice trembling. "It's worse than you think." I could hardly breathe. I thought I knew Sarah, but now I felt like I was in a maze of betrayal. How could this be true? Mia shared shocking secrets. Sarah had twisted everyone around her like puppets. She smiled sweetly, but underneath, she was hiding something dark. Each word from Mia felt like a punch in the gut. Anger bubbled up inside me, mixed with confusion. How could someone I loved be capable of such lies? When the call ended, I sat there, stunned. I'd already confronted Sarah's lies before, but now I realized it was so much bigger. I'd to face this head on. I couldn't ignore what Mia had revealed. This wasn't just gossip. I was on a mission to find out the truth, so I set up a meeting with Mia at our old coffee shop. It was a place filled with memories, but today felt different. As I stepped inside, a knot twisted in my stomach. Mia was sitting in a corner, her face serious. This wasn't just a friendly chat. She'd something important to say. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly. "We need to talk about Sarah. You need to see what she's really up to." My heart raced. I needed answers. I'd to understand what had shattered my world. Mia leaned in, her voice steady. "Sarah has been pulling strings, using her charm to fool everyone. She's playing a risky game." Her words hit hard. "She's terrified of losing everything. And that's why she hurt you." Anger bubbled inside me, but I could see the fear driving Sarah's actions. Mia kept talking, revealing how Sarah had spun a web of lies that even her family couldn't see. "You deserve to know the truth," she insisted. I felt the weight of betrayal pressing down on us. I couldn't just sit back anymore. I had to confront Sarah, not only for myself, but for everyone she'd manipulated. This was my moment to expose her, and I wasn't going to let it slip away. Mia gave me a determined look. "You can't let her get away with this." With each word, I felt my resolve strengthen. Mia's words hit me like a punch. Sarah wasn't just struggling. She was hurting people to shield herself. I couldn't let this slide. If I was going to show everyone how she twisted the truth, I'd to face her lies and the pain behind them. I took a deep breath. It was time to dig deeper and make others see the real Sarah, the one behind her perfect mask. "Why do you do this, Sarah?" I demanded, my voice steady but fierce. "Why hurt others?" She glared at me, her eyes flashing. "You don't understand. I do what I've to. By lying, by making everyone else look bad?" I shot back, anger bubbling inside. Her silence spoke volumes. I could see the cracks in her facade growing wider. It was time for the truth to come out, and I was ready to pull back the curtain. "I'll show everyone who you really are," I warned, feeling a surge of determination. Sarah was about to find out that her games were over. The moment I figured out how greed had wrapped itself around Sarah's life, everything changed. I thought we were building something real, but greed showed me a different side of her. Sarah was living in a lie, pretending to be someone she wasn't, all to keep up her perfect image. She wanted money and fame more than she wanted real friends. It twisted her mind and made her act like a puppet master, pulling strings around me. I can still hear the laughter we shared, but deep down, I sensed something was wrong. "Money can buy us so much," she'd say, her eyes sparkling with greed. It wasn't just about being comfortable. It was about having power. I found out her secrets when I stumbled upon some papers that revealed her true self. She'd been lying to her family about her debts and using them while pretending to be the perfect daughter. Learning that love was just a game to her shattered my heart. When I faced her family, their faces turned to shock. They'd no clue how greed had crept into their lives. I felt like I was carrying a heavy weight, but I knew I had to show them the truth. "You don't really know her," I shouted, desperate for them to see the real Sarah. Each truth I revealed felt like a stab to my heart, but I'd to keep going. They needed to see the monster hiding behind her pretty smile. Greed had taken over, and I couldn't just stand there and watch anymore. "Why didn't you tell us?" her mother cried, looking at me in disbelief. "I didn't know," I admitted, my voice shaking. "But you need to know who she really is." I felt a storm brewing inside me. Anger surged as I replayed everything Mia had told me about Sarah. "How could she do this?" I shouted, clenching my fists. But deep down, a flicker of something else began to stir. Compassion. I took a deep breath, trying to make sense of it all. "Sarah isn't just a villain," I muttered. "She's got her own battles." That thought was hard to swallow. How could I care for someone who hurt me so much? But as Mia continued to talk, I saw the cracks in Sarah's facade. She was trapped, tangled in her own lies. "Listen, you can't keep letting her get to you," Mia snapped, pulling me back to reality. "She's a mess, and you deserve better." I knew she was right, but it was complicated. My heart raced with rage, yet I couldn't shake the sympathy that grew like a weed in my mind. "What about her family?" I asked, my voice shaking. "She's not just hurting me." The weight of that realization pressed down on me. I needed to deal with my anger, but I also couldn't ignore the truth. "I wish she'd just be honest," I said, frustration bubbling over. "Maybe then she could find help." Mia nodded, her eyes softening. "Exactly. She's stuck in this toxic cycle." Just then, a thought hit me. "What if she could change?" I whispered, the words tasting bittersweet. My anger was loud, but my compassion was quieter, fighting to be heard. Mia sighed. "You can care about her while still protecting yourself. You're not responsible for her choices." "Yeah, but it's hard," I admitted. "I can't just turn off my feelings." "Maybe you don't have to," she replied. "You can feel both. Your anger is real, and so is your compassion." In that moment, clarity washed over me. I could confront Sarah. I could express my hurt without losing my understanding of her struggles. It was a risky path, but one I'd to take. "Okay, let's do this," I said, determination flooding my veins. I wouldn't let betrayal consume me. I'd face Sarah, ready to unleash my anger but also carrying a glimmer of hope for her. It was time to break free from the darkness surrounding us both. As I sat there, my heart racing from what Mia had just told me, I knew I'd to understand Sarah's past. It was the key to everything. Sarah didn't have a normal childhood. Her home was a battlefield, with her parents always screaming at each other. It left marks on her, scars she hid behind a bright smile. Mia said that Sarah learned to twist things to her advantage since she was little. It was how she survived, but it turned into something darker. I started to see how her need for control drove her to lie and deceive. It wasn't just about me. It was about the fear and insecurity that had haunted her for years. I felt a surge of anger mixed with pity. How could someone I loved so much get so lost? She'd made me doubt myself so many times, bending my words and feelings to fit her story. It hurt to realize she was shaped by her past, but that didn't make her actions right. Understanding Sarah's background hit me hard. Her pain explained her actions, but it didn't change the fact that she'd betrayed me. I'd to face not only her lies but the broken pieces of her life that had led her to this moment. "Why didn't you tell me?" I demanded, my voice sharp. "I didn't want you to see me that way," Sarah replied, her eyes darting away. Her words felt like a punch. I wanted to believe her, but how could I? This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about trust, and she'd shattered that. I took a deep breath, ready to confront her, ready to peel back the layers of deception. "You used me, Sarah," I accused, my heart pounding. "I was scared," she shouted back, tears brimming in her eyes. Her pain was real, but my hurt was too. This was a tangled mess of love and betrayal, and I was caught in the middle. I'd to decide if I could forgive her, or if it was time to walk away from the chaos she brought into my life. I felt like I was trapped in a storm. Sarah always knew how to pull me in with her words. At first, I thought it was love. But soon I saw the truth. It was manipulation, and it was suffocating me. Every time I tried to stand up for myself, she twisted my words. "You're the one who's hurting me," she'd shout, her voice sharp like a knife. I felt like a puppet, dancing to her every command. When I confronted her, she'd just smile and say, "You're overreacting." It drove me crazy. I started to see the game she was playing. Each time I opened up, she'd use my fears against me. "You don't really care," she'd say, her eyes cold. My heart would sink. Was I really that weak? Each cycle left me feeling more lost and alone. One night, I decided enough was enough. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice shaking but firm. Sarah just laughed, a cruel sound. "What's wrong? Can't handle the truth?" In that moment, I realized I was in a toxic trap. I was tired of feeling like a victim. I had to break free, no matter how hard it would be. The truth had to come out, and I was ready to fight for my life back. Finding closure was my big goal, but it felt like climbing a steep mountain. My emotions were all tangled up inside me. I needed to heal from the betrayal that shook my whole world. I tried different ways to find closure, hoping to fix the broken pieces of my life. Journaling was my safe place. I wrote down everything: my pain, my confusion, all the messy feelings. I called my friends for help. "I feel lost," I told them. They listened and comforted me, reminding me I wasn't alone. They helped me see that healing isn't a straight line. It's full of twists and turns. I learned that my feelings mattered. As days went by, I started to see things differently. I realized that facing Sarah's lies was the first step to healing. "You can't keep hurting me," I said to myself. By telling the truth, I was taking back my power. I shifted my focus back to me, exploring my hobbies and interests that Sarah had tried to steal. One day, while I was writing, a wave of calm washed over me. I figured out that closure wasn't about forgetting. It was about recognizing what happened and moving on. "I forgive myself," I whispered, "for trusting her." Accepting this new part of my life made me feel lighter. I finally found closure, and it felt like winning a battle against the darkness that once took over my heart.